Hello, welcome to the talk. My name is Lorna Vanderhaeghe. I'm a women's natural health expert, and I've been researching and writing on nutritional medicine now for over 35 years. I'm the author of 13 books. I also have a degree in biochemistry and nutrition, master's in nutrition. And today we're going to talk about how to balance your hormones naturally. When your hormones are in balance, you feel fit and fabulous, you sleep, your weight is great. And when your hormones are out of balance, you generally know it because you have period problems, you don't sleep at night, you gain weight easily, and you just don't feel wonderful. So today we're going to talk about where your hormones come from and how to get your hormones back into balance naturally. So where do all of your male and female hormones come from? Well, all our male and female hormones are derived from cholesterol, and these include things like progesterone and estrogen, DHEA, testosterone, and cortisol. And although cholesterol gets a bad rap, you have to have adequate amounts of good cholesterol in order to make your male and female hormones. And what makes the difference between the woman who hits menopause and she feels fabulous and the woman who hits menopause and is suffering with hot flashes and night sweats and mood swings and insomnia? It really comes down to her adrenal glands. The adrenals are two little glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they are your backup hormone system. Your adrenals help you deal with stress throughout your life by secreting cortisol in response to stressors. But when you go through menopause, those adrenals are going to kick in and make your hormones for you. And if you've had a hysterectomy where they remove your ovaries, your adrenals are going to kick in and make your hormones for you. So if you're a younger woman listening to today's program, you really want to take great care of your adrenals. And if you're already in menopause, then we want to support and treat your adrenals so that they can make your DHEA, your testosterone, your estrogen, and your progesterones naturally. Then we also have the thyroid, which is the master conductor of all of your hormones. The thyroid sits wrapped around your windpipe. We have an epidemic of low thyroid today in Canada. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about the thyroid later on in the talk, but your thyroid produces hormones that we measure and test. And the thyroid is involved in basically monitoring every system in the body. Your liver is the sentinel organ for hormone function, and your liver is involved in detoxification of hormones. Your liver decides if your healthy estrogen is going to turn into cancer-causing estrogen, and your liver is involved in the manufacture of some hormones as well. And so if you're drinking a bit too much red wine or popping too many over-the-counter painkillers, your liver won't be working the way that it should be. Your gut is everything from your mouth to your butt, and your gut is involved in the conversion of hormones and also the detoxification of hormones. And if you have gas, burping, bloating, constipation, or diarrhea, then you will have hormone problems as well. So this is the reason why we tell everyone to take a probiotic. And of course, the gut is involved in so many other systems in the body, which we're going to talk about as well in today's talk. Your fat cells are hormone factories. They're producing tons and tons of estrogen and inflammatory factors. The reason why the Canadian Cancer Society tells you to stay in a healthy weight range is basically to keep those fat cells in check. So the ovaries have been relegated to the bottom of the list, and your ovaries are very, very important when you're trying to have a baby. The ovaries also have little receptors on them for T3, thyroid hormone. So when you start to have thyroid issues, you also start to see women with period problems and menstrual cycle irregularities as well. The ovaries produce estrogen and progesterone and testosterone. And of course, they have those little receptors on them for thyroid hormone as well. All the hormones interact with one another. And so none of these hormones act all on their own. And of course, when they're in balance, we feel great. And when they're not, we have lots of different health issues. One of the things that's been mistakenly reported is that we don't have enough estrogen. And that was really something that came about because they were trying to put women on a prescription drug called Premarin, and they had to convince women that they were deficient in estrogen. But what we've actually found in North American women is that they have too much estrogen. And not only is the body producing estrogen, but you're being exposed to estrogens in the environment And those estrogens are found in plastics, they're found in cosmetics in the form of parabens and phthalates. As well, those estrogens are found in pesticides that are sprayed on foods. And so we're exposed to a lot of environmental estrogens when we're under a tremendous amount of stress. Our estrogen levels go up. And of course, the body is also producing estrogen. So what we found in North American women is that they're actually estrogen overloaded, or we call this estrogen dominant. And that means that you have too much estrogen in relationship to your other hormones. And when you have too much estrogen in relationship to your other hormones, one of the things that happens is your thyroid goes low. And that's because estrogen blocks the uptake of thyroid hormone. Estrogen and progesterone have to be in balance. So when you have too much estrogen, your progesterone plummets, and a whole host of symptoms happen as a result of that. Estrogen's a powerful hormone, so it can make cells grow out of control. Think about those cells and those conditions, things like uterine fibroids, a thick uterine lining, ovarian cysts, endometriosis. These are all signs, breast lumps, that you have cells growing out of control. And if you have those conditions like endometriosis, uterine fibroids, period problems, fibrocystic breasts, ovarian cysts, you don't have to have a blood test for estrogen. We already know that you've got too much estrogen in relationship to your other hormones because you have these conditions. Estrogen also encourages weight gain. And when you were a teenager and your estrogen started to surge, this is when you got your great curves. But as we get older, if we have too much estrogen, we turn into an apple and we get all of that belly fat. As well, estrogen, when it's too high, progesterone goes low, and we develop things like migraine headaches, especially right before your period. And progesterone is a real calming hormone. So when you have too much estrogen and progesterone is suppressed, then we don't feel so calm all the time. So really, it's about having this balance with our hormones. And in the first half of the cycle, estrogen rises. In the second half of the cycle, progesterone rises. And there's this real balance, this delicate balance between these hormones in the body. And when they're out of balance, this is when we start to see all of these female health conditions. Not only are we getting estrogens that are made by the body, but in cosmetics, there also are estrogens in food. And this is the reason why I recommend that people eat organic, free range, and wild whenever they can. We already know that pesticides fit into your estrogen receptors and turn on your estrogen. But some foods are just purely estrogenic. And one of those is soy products. And people often think that they're eating a healthy food when they eat soy. But they did a clinical trial in women. They had them drink 1 8-ounce glass of soy milk, and they discovered that their estradiol, which is a very powerful estrogen, went up over 1,100%. That's unbelievable. On average, most women had their estradiol increase by 380%. Now, you just learned that estrogen is a powerful hormone that can make cells grow. It's designed to make the uterine lining thicker, so that if you get pregnant, the baby has somewhere to live for the next 9 months. But too much estrogen or an overload of estrogen increases your risk of endometriosis, uterine fibroids, ovarian cysts, heavy periods, breast lumps, and even breast cancer. So I do not recommend that people consume soy, especially after they did this great study testing saliva hormone levels of estradiol and found that it increased so dramatically. So what do you do if you have too much estrogen? If you're that woman who has ovarian cysts or endometriosis or uterine fibroids, what do you do? Well, there are some really key nutritional supplements that have been clinically researched to bring your estrogen back into the normal range and to help detoxify all those excess estrogens that we see in the body. Things like indole-3-carbinol, DIM, deglucarate, sulforaphane, green tea extract, and curcumin. These things have all been researched to stop abnormal cell growth. And we really have to start thinking about things like fibroids and breast lumps in a different manner. They may never become cancerous, but if you get a 2-pound fibroid in your uterus, it can become very problematic. And any woman who's ever suffered with heavy periods knows how limiting that is for their life. So things like indole 3-carbinol, DIM, deglucarate, sulforaphane, they're found in cruciferous vegetables. That's the broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, cabbage, and kale. And I do recommend that you eat a lot of those vegetables. Saunas can also detoxify all of these bad estrogens that get built up in the body. And these nutrients have been clinically researched to halt things like HPV and cervical dysplasia. So if you're the woman getting the abnormal pap smears, they shrink uterine fibroids and ovarian cysts and breast lumps and stop them from coming back, which is even more important. If you're on the birth control pill or taking oral estrogen replacement therapy, then you'll want to take these nutrients as well to protect you from too much estrogen being built up in the system. And for hormonal acne, there is nothing that works better for our teenagers than anyone suffering with acne to use things like indole 3-carbinol, DIM, and sulforaphane to get that acne under control. So the great news is there are ways to protect us against too much estrogen and to get the body's detoxification systems working better as well. And then let's talk about the thyroid, because I think for a lot of women, low thyroid is probably the reason why they're having a whole host of health conditions. Your thyroid is literally the master conductor of everything. Your thyroid determines if you're going to be happy, sad, or depressed. Your thyroid is involved in how quickly food moves through the digestive system. Your thyroid is involved in your heart rate, your body temperature. Your thyroid is involved in cholesterol manufacture. Your thyroid is involved in whether you're going to get pregnant or stay pregnant. The thyroid is just literally the master conductor of every system in the body. And some of the symptoms that we experience are things like, if you've lost a third of your eyebrows and you didn't pluck them out, it could be due to low thyroid. Other symptoms of low thyroid include dry skin, hair loss, especially the kind of hair loss where your hair thins on the top of your head, heavy periods, you're freezing cold all the time, you have gained weight and you cannot lose it. You have tried everything to budge that weight and it just won't go anywhere. Recurring miscarriages, infertility, raging hot flashes and night sweats. Menopause should only last about 18 months. It's really a transition. If you're getting hot flashes and night sweats 5 years later, it's almost a bet that it has something to do with your thyroid not being treated properly. And when your thyroid is low, you just feel like you're pushing yourself through the day. So we have an epidemic of low thyroid in Canada today, and a lot of women are suffering and are not being treated properly with thyroid hormone. So one of the challenges is when you go to your doctor and you have your thyroid checked, the range of normal for the thyroid test, the test is called the thyroid stimulating hormone test, or a TSH. The range of normal is 0.5 to 5. But anyone who has a TSH above 2 needs thyroid support. Your doctor won't give you thyroid medication until your TSH is above 5. But what you need to know is your number, because we know from the research that's done that if your TSH is above 2, your thyroid is struggling. By the time your TSH gets to 5, you've gained weight, you have no energy, you're depressed, your hair is falling out, your skin is dry and wrinkling, and you just feel flat out awful. So part of the problem is the test range is too broad, and women cannot get thyroid medication when they really need it. So what do you do if your TSH is above 2, but not bad enough for your doctor to prescribe thyroid medication? In that case, the good news is there's lots of nutritional support. And there's very good research using ashwagandha and another herb called Googles to increase T4 thyroid hormone and also improve the conversion of your T4 thyroid hormone to the more potent T3 thyroid hormone. As well, you need a little bit of potassium iodide. Potassium iodide is a very special form of iodide that is used directly by your thyroid gland to make T4 thyroid hormone, and some selenomethionine or selenium also as a cofactor to make thyroid hormone. And tyrosine is found in protein, and it's an amino acid that is also used by your body to make thyroid hormone. You want to completely avoid fluoride because it blocks the uptake of thyroid hormones. So no fluoridated water, no fluoridated toothpaste, no fluoridated mouthwash, especially if you already have the symptoms of low thyroid or you're taking thyroid medication. Everybody should be taking a great multivitamin with minerals, but especially for people who have low thyroid, because a lot of the cofactors that are needed to make thyroid hormone would be found in a really good multivitamin with minerals. The good news is that we can get your thyroid working better by using these kinds of nutrients, and hopefully we'd be able to bring it back so that your TSH goes back down below 2. But you have to know your number. Don't let your doctor just tell you your thyroid is normal. You want to know what your TSH number is, and it has to be below 2. So stress and the adrenal glands. So your thyroid and your adrenals talk to one another. And when we're under this chronic, unrelenting stress, which a lot of us are, our adrenal glands become tired. They pump out a lot of cortisol when you're under stress. And if the stress is chronic and unrelenting, then eventually the adrenal glands become what we call exhausted. And what are the symptoms of adrenal exhaustion? Things like anxiety, panic attacks. You can fall asleep fine, but you wake up in the middle of the night, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, wide awake, and you can't fall back to sleep. You have low energy. You have difficulty handling stress. You are craving salt and sugar and caffeine. You've got joint pain, belly fat, weight gain, and maybe even crying jags. All of these are telling you that you're under too much stress and your adrenals are becoming tired. And that's a big deal because you learned earlier in the talk that the adrenals are your backup hormone system, and you need those adrenals when you go through menopause or if you have a hysterectomy to basically make your female hormones for you for the next several decades. And of course, when you're younger and dealing with a lot of stress, you need those adrenals to function well so that they can produce adequate amounts of cortisol and DHEA to protect you. Also, when you're under a lot of stress, your body's pumping out so much cortisol, it can fit in your progesterone receptors. But it doesn't work like progesterone. So you don't feel calm, you feel anxiety and panic and just feelings of foreboding. So we've really got to get our stress under control. And we can do that through deep breathing exercises, through meditation. I love the Calm app and I have it downloaded on my phone. I listen to it all the time to help me de-stress. And there's some very good nutrients with great clinical research for helping us deal with adrenal exhaustion. Things like ashwagandha. And really, would like you to take that ashwagandha at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, between 3 and 5. And 200 milligrams a day goes a long way to really helping you deal with adrenal exhaustion. You want to have some B vitamins, some magnesium bisglycinate, and things to just calm down those adrenals so that they can handle stress much better. Menopause. So I said earlier, it's a transition. It's not a disease. Just like when you got your periods, there may have been some turmoil. Now when the period stops, some women experience hot flashes, night sweats. Some women experience none of those symptoms. Some women have anxiety and insomnia. Some women have terrible weight gain. These are symptoms of hormone fluctuation. So that's why it's important that we look at the thyroid and the adrenals and our stress reduction and our diet, because all these things play a role. I always tell people at this time in your life, the word menopause means 1 year with no menstrual period. And if you're having terrible symptoms, you need to have your thyroid checked and make sure your TSH is below 2. You want to de-stress, eat a great diet, and really take good care of yourself. If you have hot flashes and night sweats, then you want to get a menopause support nutrient, a herbal formula to help you deal with those hot flashes and night sweats. And you need a great multivitamin with minerals. And I think a lot of our health issues could really be dealt with if we just improved our nutrition. And the only safe estrogen that I recommend for vaginal dryness, urinary incontinence, painful intercourse is estriol. And estriol is made up at compounding pharmacy, and the prescription is 0.5% estriol. You get a prescription by your doctor. And this estrogen will not cause cancers or abnormal cell growth. And it works like a charm for dealing with vaginal dryness. And you can even use a little bit of it on your wrinkles. It has this wonderful anti-wrinkle effect as well. But here's the thing, menopause is not a disease, it is a transition. And I've written a great big fat book on how to deal with all the different symptoms that women may experience around their hormone problems. Insomnia, there are 4 different types of insomnia. So depending on the type of insomnia that you're suffering with will determine what your treatment is. We've already talked about the kind of insomnia where you fall asleep fine, but you wake up several hours later wide awake. And this is caused by adrenal exhaustion. And for that type of insomnia, we actually treat you with adrenal support nutrients that you take mid-afternoon, things like ashwagandha and rhodiola. You would take a couple 100 milligrams of magnesium bisglycinate at bedtime. Things that are going to work to calm the cortisol levels down. The reason why you're waking up at 2 or 3 in the morning is because your cortisol is peaking in the middle of the night when it shouldn't be. We want to change that. Then I think everybody should be taking melatonin from the time they're young until they're old for many reasons. One, it has some cancer protecting effects. It also has been researched for weight loss. You do not need much. 1 to 1.5 milligrams under your tongue at bedtime is all you need. You don't need these 5 and 10 milligram doses. It's way too much. And just a little bit of melatonin to support the brain so you can have deep, restful sleep. And you've got to have a pitch black bedroom, no caffeine after lunch. That's the other one. Don't work out at night if you're an insomniac. And lots of turning the lights down early, get that phone and your iPad and any devices turned off early as well, so that the brain can start to secrete melatonin in time for sleep. I love magnesium. If you have restless legs, twitchy eyelids, leg cramps, then this is another kind of insomnia, which is caused by not enough magnesium. And the magnesium I recommend is magnesium bisglycinate because it crosses the blood-brain barrier. It also saturates your cells and helps you get deep, restful sleep. Then there are some women who don't get insomnia until after they go through menopause. And these women are suffering with insomnia that is caused by a progesterone deficiency. And so for that, I recommend 200 milligrams of prometrium, which is a bioidentical natural progesterone. You get a prescription from your doctor, and you take 200 milligrams at bedtime. Some people just need adrenal support nutrients. Some people just need melatonin. Some people just need magnesium. Some people need it all. We need at least 7 to 8 hours of deep, restful sleep every night in order for the body to regenerate and repair. And they found in women who have chronic insomnia that they get high blood pressure. They also are at higher risk of Alzheimer's dementia. And so we definitely want to get back to sleeping so this body can have some hormone balance occur. One of the most common questions I get is around hair loss. Lots of women are experiencing terrible hair loss. And we've already talked about hair loss that's associated with low thyroid, so we know what to do for that. But one of the main reasons of hair loss is caused by low iron. And we should be getting 20 milligrams of iron from our diet every day. We're not, we're getting about 8. And it is very difficult to get iron from foods unless you're eating a lot of red meat and egg yolks. And so if you're not, then you definitely need to supplement with iron. And the only kind of iron I recommend is iron pyrophosphate. And you take 15 to 30 milligrams per day to give you adequate iron. You need iron to make your serotonin, your happy hormone. You need iron to make all of your male and female hormones. And there's so many factors that we need iron for. Your hair follicles, so the little holes that your hair grow out of, are full of ferritin, which is your iron storage. And when your ferritin levels decline, then your hair falls out, which is why we see so much hair loss in women. And probably the reason why we see so much hair loss in elderly women, because nobody is testing their iron after they go through menopause. They figure only menstruating women need to worry about iron, but everybody, including children, needs to worry about their iron levels. So here's another scenario where the blood tests, the range of normal is too broad. So you need a hemoglobin and a ferritin blood test to check your iron. And your hemoglobin levels should be at least 140. Well, the range of normal is 117 to 160. Ferritin's even worse. The range of normal is 15 to 160. But we know that if your ferritin falls below 70, your hair will fall out. It goes gray faster, it gets crunchy and dry, it doesn't hold the color, it doesn't grow very well. And so if you want to have thick, beautiful hair and great looking fingernails, you need to take iron, and you need to take the right kind of iron pyrophosphate, which will not cause constipation, won't turn your teeth black, and better yet, it'll raise your ferritin levels quickly. Another big question I get is about weight loss. And you've just learned that your hormones are involved in weight gain and weight management. Things like low thyroid cause stubborn weight loss and a lot of weight gain. Too much estrogen and we get all this belly fat. Too much cortisol, our stress hormone, it actually changes the shape of our fat cells around the middle and slams the door shut on them and makes them resistant to fat loss. So what do we do for weight loss? And, first thing you want to do is make sure your thyroid is working properly and that you're not too estrogen overloaded. So you want to make sure you buy free range, wild, fresh, and organic whenever you can, pesticide free. And you want to eat protein. And women need protein. We are not getting enough protein. For example, a woman who weighs about 130 pounds and sits in front of a desk all day, she needs between 30 and 40 grams of protein. Just to give you an understanding of how difficult that may be to achieve, an egg is a perfect protein and it contains 6 grams of protein. So unless you're eating a lot of protein, you're probably not getting adequate protein every day. So proteins are things like chicken and beef and lamb and pork and fish and shellfish and plant and whey-based protein powders, nuts and seeds, eggs. These are good, clean sources of protein that you want to add to your diet. I use plant and whey-based protein powders as a supplement because I never eat enough flesh-based proteins to give me adequate protein in the day. The other thing I do is intermittent fasting, and I do this very simple form of intermittent fasting. I don't eat after 7 o'clock, and I don't eat again until after 10 a.m. in the morning. And you can have coffee with whipping cream in it, not whipping cream with sugar, but just plain old whipping cream, and that will not break your intermittent fast. And it removes a whole bunch of calories, which is one of the other good things, and it's good for your mind. And the only thing they've ever discovered for anti-aging that actually works is reduction of calories. So the other thing I recommend is switching from skim or no-fat dairy products to full-fat organic dairy products. So stop buying skim milk and no-fat dairy because it has, when they take the fat out, they increase the carbohydrate count. And then you get more sugary foods than weight loss promoting foods. So switch out that no-fat yogurt for full-fat yogurt. Tastes better anyways. Eat 5 servings a day of green veggies. You can have as many green veggies as you like. So you should never be hungry on this eating plan because you can eat copious amounts of green veg. No fruit juice is just additional calories. And if you're making a protein shake in the morning and you're filling it up with bananas and mangoes, you're adding a lot of additional calories, and you're probably not going to lose weight eating that way. The only fruit I recommend is berries, particularly blueberries, because they're so good for maintaining blood sugar balance in the body and have some other great health benefits. If you like things like pasta, have it once a week and a little bit, and put a lot of meat and veg on top. We really have to limit the amount of breads and rice and potatoes and pasta that we eat if we want to maintain a healthy weight, because really they're the filler foods to fill us up. Walk, 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 walk everywhere you can. If you can't walk because it's snowing in your area or it's too icy, then get yourself a rebounder and set it up in front of your TV and get on it and jump whenever you think about it. 10 minutes of rebounding is equivalent to 20 minutes of walking. I lift weights at home every day just for 10 minutes in the morning before I get in the shower. Keeps your arms nice and strong. And so there's no excuse. We can make all these things happen in our daily life, things that are simple and easy, and exercise balances your hormones as well. It's good for serotonin, your happy hormone. And ultimately, that's what this talk is all about. You can go to my website at lornahealth.com and sign up for my free newsletter. I also have a YouTube channel where you can listen to my lectures and talks and webinars. And if you have questions, you can send them to info@lornahealth.com. And I want you to know that your health is my passion. And thank you very much for coming and listening to this webinar. Have an awesome day.